Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice.
It's showtime.
What I say is true. Anyone can cook, but only the fearless can be great.
I beg your pardon?
Feed me!
The hell are you supposed to be?
I'm vengeance.
Now this is pod racing.
Finally, worthy opponent. Our battle will be legendary.
Do you have it in you to make it epic?
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the Hundreds of Movies podcast. My name is Ethan and I'm here with my co-host
Chris Tierney. I'm back again.
Yes, and we are today talking about the 1987 film The Princess Bride, but we have a very special guest with us and you'll see why they're here. But we have with us Perth artist Rosalie Chilvers. Say hi.
Hi everyone, I'm
Welcome.
so excited.
Yay. We got Rosalie on because she's got a new single coming out on the 20th of September. Do you want to tell us a bit about it before we get started?
The song's all about wanting someone who you want you back, but knowing your own self-worth and just being like, if you don't want me, it's your loss. But hurry up. It's good. It's fun.
Hell yeah.
Sounds very intriguing. So if that's something that you'd be interested in, you should give it a listen. On the 20th is when it drops, so later this week. Very, very exciting. And you'll see why Rosalie is here and what The Princess Bride has to do with the newest single, but we'll get to that later. Chris and I got together and watched the movie last night, as of the time of recording. Rosalie, I believe you're a big fan of the movie as well.
I think I've watched this movie pretty much like every 6 months since I was like 10.
Wow.
So it's like the movie it's very homey. Yeah.
The dedication is real. I would say the thing that comes to mind is my first time watching this movie. I think it was about when I was in year 5 and I went with my brother and my dad to the outdoor cinemas and we watched it on a big blow-up screen and it started pelting it down with rain and we were sat in ponchos just in, I don't even remember where it was, but we were just getting absolutely bucketed down and I gotta say 10 out of 10 experience.
Classic Perth experience.
Would recommend. And it's funny, again, full circle, we'll talk about this later, but getting bucketed down on, it's definitely something I can relate to. We'll get to that later, you'll see why, but anticipation for what we're about to talk about later on. But why don't we just discuss our thoughts on the film, what we like about it, what we don't like, things like that. You want to start us off, Chris?
Yeah, I think I will. So this was actually my very first time watching.
Oh, amazing.
I'd never had any experience, it's because it's such a cult classic thing now, quotes, Inigo Montoya, it's something that I've kind of grown up around, but I've never for some reason watched it. So yesterday was my first experience watching and I really, really liked it. I get it now.
It's good.
It's really funny. I like that they took it so serious, but it's so comedic and it's like meta commentary on like fantasy films and comedy films. Yeah, I think I had a very pleasant time watching it for the first experience.
I would have to agree. I think it's probably like a second or third rewatch, I'd say. It's just so enjoyable to watch. And it's like the aesthetic and the vibe they go for is so strong and it maintains itself throughout the whole thing. And it's just so on the nose. And I love watching it. It was so entertaining.
It doesn't let up like at all.
Yeah.
It tells you from the get-go what it's going to be and it doesn't falter from that. At
for
all.
sure.
Yeah, I love this movie. I think I saw it for the first time when I was like 9 or 10 when my dad showed it to me. But like even since then, it's like, I want to be Buttercup. And then as I've gotten older, I've been like, no, I don't want to be Buttercup. That girl could have saved herself if she had tried, even slightly throughout the film. But it was. I feel like it's a really good, just like a really well done medieval film. Like it has like the elements of stuff. There's no like technology. They don't bring anything in like that. It just feels really like close to what the time period's meant to be, and it feels like it really stays within the world of itself. Like it doesn't go into other yeah, I don't know. It's really good. I really like this movie.
Yeah, I think the locations they shot at and the costumes are both gorgeous. They're insane. I think we had a look at it yesterday. I think they shot around Ireland and England.
All around England and Ireland. It's just,
absolutely gorgeous.
The moments when you're watching, like, this is incredible that they filmed it's a real locations.
I know it's so gorgeous, and like it's great when films make every shot try to look like a painting, and like this is one of those films that's like close to it, where it just looks, everything's beautiful, the color grading is amazing, and it's just so it's so vibrant and pretty to look at. Like it's so gorgeous.
The sunrise scene is one that really like stands out. That's just, it's so stunning, and just, it really, like, I feel like even that scene just shows what the movie is all about.
Yeah.
The cast is like perfectly casted as well, I have to say.
100%.
Everyone fits their roles so well. It's just so great. And the lines, the classic quotable lines, there are so many. I wrote a ton down here. I'm just going to breeze through the list. So we've got Inconceivable, obviously, classic. My name is Inigo Montoya. No, the whole spiel, great. Rodents of unusual size, I don't believe they exist. And then he just gets taken down.
Clearly just a man in a costume. Love it.
I'm not a witch, I'm your wife. I'm not left-handed. I plan on killing myself, and then wouldn't that be lovely? Or something along those lines. That one's funny. I want my father back, you son of a bitch. As you wish. Mawaj. And anybody want a peanut? Just like... And there are probably a whole slew more, but those are just like such quotable lines, and I love them all. So good.
It very much feels like if you were to go to like one of those Rocky Horror screenings and play The Princess Bride, people were going to shout everything back at the screen, and I'd be sat there going, I don't have a clue what's going on, but I'm loving it.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember like Inconceivable is such a massive thing to do with the movie, and again, when I was really young, JB Hi-Fi were doing a sale on all their Princess Bride like classic DVDs, and they had printed out photos of like the whole cast on like what are they called? It's like the people posted I don't know, and
like the cutouts.
Yeah, the cutouts, and then they just had like Inconceivable written. I remember being like, wow, other people have seen this movie. What do you mean other people have seen this movie that I love so much? I think I gatekeeped The Princess Bride when I was like very small.
I think my parents definitely kept the movie for me. They told me to read the book first, and they we were obviously going to the screening, and they were like, we are not going until you've read the book. And I appreciated that, because I've read the book and I don't remember it that much, but I remember really enjoying the book as well. It's just so good. I will say, one of the things I definitely picked up on while watching it is the music is so odd.
Yeah.
The soundtrack is so weird. Like, it gives vibes of like a retro video game kind of thing. Like, it gives video game vibes. It's just really weird. And there's some like absolutely beautiful things, and then it just gets the sword fight, and like the score is just so odd. I just noticed it sounds really weird, because I know the lead guitarist and singer of Dire Straits, what is his name, Mark Knopfler. I probably have butchered that, but he did the soundtrack for it, which is quite odd. And it's just like, you can tell because obviously he's a guitarist, the nice guitar lines in there, but it's just such a weirdly put together score. I just thought it was so odd.
I was always wondering if the reason the score feels so video gamey is because it's a story being told to a 10-year-old who all he wants to do is play video games.
That's
and that's
true.
trying to like get him interested in it.
And the film does start with the base, it literally starts with a video game.
Yeah.
I always was wondering if that's like the little things they put in to try and keep him interested. Like, they keep this kid really interested in the story that he has no interest in at the start of it. And I think that's kind of how the story progresses as well, because if you came into it and you're just like, okay, they're together now, and then he's gone, and now you're intrigued and all the things. I think they keep the kid interested in a way of trying to keep the audience interested.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's interesting. I never even thought about that like connection of like the video game and stuff. But one thing I do appreciate with the aspect of it being told to a child is like the way the movie ends, where the book just ends. He's like, oh yeah, I'll read it to you tomorrow. Bye. And then he leaves and it just ends. It's kind of sweet, because I feel like it realistically portrays like those memories of a child, as a child being told a bedtime story, and then it just ends, and then your parent leaves and you go to sleep. And it's like nothing more than that. And it's just so simple, and it's like a little like, like memory in a bottle kind of thing. Just kind of, it's its own little event, and it's like a core memory kind of thing. And I just like, I appreciate that.
I like the ending, because the kid literally asks, can you come back and read it to me tomorrow? And it's like, you could just put the film back on and watch it again, and it's a endless loop. And that's, I think, part of why people do enjoy it, is because it ends with can we talk about it again tomorrow? It's like, we can just put the film on again.
Yeah.
And he's reading the story to me and to him again, you know?
Yeah.
It puts you back into being a kid, you know, having a story read to you.
Absolutely.
And one thing I appreciated about the film, you know, on a first time watch, was I like films which are kind of in that structure. So like Big Fish, you know, films where someone is telling the audience a story. So you're like being told a story while a character is also being told a story.
Yeah.
So that's what I really enjoyed about this one, was it was someone telling the story to someone.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really good point. Yeah.
I think going back to the soundtrack again, one of the things I really appreciated was how well timed it was with the action on the screen. I remember you picked it up while we were watching it.
The fight
a lot of the
with
sword clashes and the bashes and stuff are like timed with hits in the music, and that's just little details like that.
The final fight between Inigo and the Six-Fingered Man.
Yeah.
There's moments, and it's so clever when they're actually doing the sword fighting, the music as their swords clash. It's like, you know, beat, beat, beat with the timing of the soundtrack.
Yeah,
So
I think it's so clever. 'Cause
clever.
It just adds to the whole experience of like feeling so. It's like so dramatic. I love it. It's so good.
Especially that one scene. We'll get to that, but that scene with the final fight.
Yeah.
Oh, so good.
Definitely. I think going on like the sort of, you know, technical aspects of the film, the practical effects are great for the time. Considering, obviously in our last episode we spoke about Beetlejuice, considering Beetlejuice came out a year after, it looks better than the practical effects of Beetlejuice do, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Like, everything holds its own. And I think what helps, this is obviously similar to Beetlejuice as well, is it found its like artistic style and it sticks to that. Like, with some of the sets looking like, you know, like sets of like a play or something like that, where it's like kind of done in a way where they're meant to look a bit fake and cheapy because it's like the story told and it's like the kid's imagination seeing
On
the story.
the reverse for that, for me, what I appreciated is just how realistic it looked. Like the sets felt like, you know, growing up in the UK, you know, I've been to places that these things were filmed, and it's like you can just picture those houses and the cottages and the castles like looking exactly like what they look like. I know it's a fictional country, but it's like it looks realistic and like historical while being a bit fantasy.
Yeah.
And that's part of what I actually enjoyed, was that it did look so realistic.
Yeah, I like it. And the colours that pop, the sky is like a repeated thing that just looks so pretty. Like every shot it's in, it's just like, it looks gorgeous.
Yeah.
And it's just, everything blends together so well to create such a beautiful looking film.
Especially with like Prince Humperdinck having like the most colourful costumes compared to the main lot where they've got like very neutral colours. I mean, you know, he's literally the man in black. So that was a stark contrast to having the Prince and the Six-Fingered Man being, you know, so colourful and bright compared to the others.
And on that, I think every time that Buttercup is with Humperdinck, her colours of her costumes become brighter. Like her wedding dress is blue, and the rest of the time, like, she's wearing greys and whites. But like even when she's trying to run away, she's wearing red, and the red fades throughout the film as like she gets dirtier as she's like running through the forest with Wesley and stuff, and like pulls her back to like when she was not a rich girl. I think it's very telling of like, she doesn't like being in these very colourful clothes, and that's why she only wears them when she's around a man that she also really doesn't like. I think the costuming is really well done in that regard. Yeah.
Yeah, really, really cool. I got a few little cheeky IMDb trivia tidbits for you guys. I'm a fiend for little facts. So here's the first one. Mandy Patinkin has said that the role of Inigo Montoya is his personal favourite over the course of his entire career. Very interesting. I would say he's suited to it very well. So. Oh,
definitely. And being a theatre man is so interesting to me because I know him from Sunday in the Park with George and, you know, so many Sondheim things. It's like to see him being just an actor and having fun. It's like, yeah, I get it. I get why he had so much fun with it.
Yeah, for sure. Here's another one. When Count Rugen hits Wesley over the head, Carrie Ells told Christopher Guest to go ahead and hit him for real. Guest hit Ells so hard that he knocked him unconscious and lacerated the top of his head, and production was shut down for the day while he was sent to the hospital.
Jeez.
Jesus.
I'm sure they probably kept that in the final cut as well.
Probably. But that's that wouldn't happen on today's movie sets.
No.
Yeah, honestly. And then finally, Rob Reiner, the director of the film, he has a cameo in the film. Where do you want to guess his... I feel like you might know this.
I think I do.
So for Chris, where do you think his cameo is in the film? Do you want to take a guess?
Is it one of the wedding? Is it the wedding sequence?
It's probably not what you would expect. He is the voice of the rodents of unusual size.
I thought he was going to be the guy who stands out of the gate. That's what my assumption was, is that he was going to be the gatekeeper with the one key.
No, he
Damn.
voices the rodents.
Brilliant.
That's amazing.
I love that.
What a thing to put on your resume, you know, directed the film and had a slight cameo as the voice of a man eating rodents.
Just kind of going...
One of the funny things with the rodents as well is like noticing that it's a person in like a costume. Like the way they move sometimes is kind of funny, but you can kind of notice that they're a bit human-like, and I just love it because it just adds to the overall like comedic air of the film. Like, oh, it's so good, so good, and just the way everything is written in terms of the comedy. It's very Monty Python-esque, and there are just so many silly little gags that just aren't serious at all. Like the albino's voice change, where he goes from all like gravelly and raspy to clearing his throat and he just speaks normally.
I thought that was very funny.
Little things like that, or like when Inigo Montoya is about to duel the Six-Finger Man, he just stands there and turns and runs away immediately. Oh, it's just so many little things that are just... so funny. Oh, I love it so much.
So I did a bit of research into how the film actually came about. Yeah. So obviously it's based on the book of the same name by William Goldman, who actually was the writer of the screenplay for the film. He's very protective over this project. Absolutely. So he's involved in literally everything that's ever been made of it. So the director, Rob Reiner, was actually gifted the book as a child by his father, and he'd been wanting to adapt the book into a film since like the mid 80s. And it was actually during the production of Stand By Me, which he directed as well, he approached Paramount to make the film, but he was told that he wasn't the first to try it, and they were like, we're not going to do it because no one can get it right. It turns out in 1973, 20th Century Fox actually had tried to make a film. They'd paid $500,000 to get the rights to the film from Goldman. They tried to make a film with Richard Lester, which ended up not happening, and Goldman bought the rights back with his own money to license it out to other people. Other directors who tried to do it was Norman Jewison, who directed Fiddler on the Roof, and Robert Redford tried to direct a version of it as well.
Oh, wow.
I remember a couple of years ago people were saying that it was coming to Broadway. They were going to make The Princess Bride on Broadway, and I remember everyone being like, it's not going to work.
Apparently it's still in active development under Disney, so...
Disney.
We'll see.
Interesting.
Disney musical.
I mean, like it could work, but again, it would need that like 1 in a million like director and artistic vision to like, because the fans are so like obsessed and protective over this film that if you do it wrong, like no, your career's over. You're done.
I mean, there was talks of a reboot, quite a few years ago. Let me just see.
Well, I don't know if you know this, but during 2020, during lockdown, a bunch of celebrities filmed their own version and recreated the film. It wasn't obviously the full length. I think it was only 60 minutes. But yeah, I had a look at like the cast of some of the people that were involved in this like remake. We have people such as Bryan Cranston, Seth Rogen, Stephen Merchant, Javier Bardem, Shaquille O'Neal, Sam Rockwell, and many, many more. Like lots more big names got involved in this. Neil Patrick Harris also was involved, and that's just so great. You can tell that so many people love it.
I mean, Ryan Reynolds did recreate a lot of the opening scenes for Once Upon a Deadpool, which was this is gonna sound sad, but I only watched Deadpool for the first time this year in like anticipation of doing Deadpool and Wolverine. and I've been trying to find Once Upon a Deadpool anywhere, and I cannot find it. Like, they've removed it off everything, except there's a 30-second clip on YouTube where it's just him recreating The Princess Bride. And so I was like, what is going on? Why have you taken my favorite movie and why is Deadpool here? It was definitely like, I felt like I was actively on drugs trying to watch that 30 seconds. But it shows like how almost timeless this movie is, and I think it's because it is set in a medieval setting, is that it can be timeless in that way. Yeah,
and the aspect of it being told to a child as well is that also makes it timeless, because this can be happening with any child at any period in time. Like, it's great that there's not really many like time references in like that real world kind of scene that really dates it, apart from obviously the video games and stuff. But aside from that, there's nothing that really dates the film, to be honest. Like, it could have been something that occurred like yesterday, which is great that it holds up so well.
Yeah. And also with this film, so in 2006 and 2013, it was selected by the Writers Guild of America both times as the 84th best screenplay of all time.
Wow.
84th twice.
Yeah, same as both. And it was officially selected by the Library of Congress for preservation in the US National Film Registry.
That's
obviously that's a lot of films get put into it, but it is I don't know if you know much about the film registry, but basically anyone can vote for them. It has to get a certain amount of votes and recommendations from directors, producers, blah, blah, blah. But they get put into this preservation library for being culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. So you can look it up. There's loads of films in it now, but, you know, for a film to get that praise is like a big deal.
I think it hits every mark too. Like, it has had cultural impact within the quotes, and it's so memorable. It's aesthetically like right on the money. I feel like it really hits every point to get into that. Yeah.
And I'm so glad that even after all the success of the film, and I'm glad this is also William Goldman being so protective, that we haven't got a sequel, or like at least haven't got a remake. I'm glad that it's kind of been left untouched and it's been protected, because we don't need that. We don't want that.
One thing that's interesting is it was actually not a success for, like box office wise. So it was made for 16 million, which is modest. But then it only made back 30.9 million, which for the time, you know, today's standards, that's an absolute flop.
Yeah.
But for the time, it was, you know, mild. It didn't break any records, so the studio weren't necessarily being like, oh, we don't need to greenlight anything. But then obviously it just became what it is, you know, the cult classic, and people loved it. But there was never one thing that they, you know, was found was like people weren't clamoring for more. It's like, this is perfect, I love this, I don't touch this, you know, please.
Yeah.
And it's the same as what you were saying, how you were gatekeeping it yourself. Everyone has basically gatekept this movie from, you know, there's been like 8-bit video games and like books and stuff like that, but there's never been more.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'll go to like Dimmicks and stuff and just be looking around, and then it'll be like, as you wish trivia, but they never call it Princess Bride trivia because they can't get the rights to it.
Wow.
It's always something like Inconceivable medieval trivia movie. It's very silly. It's just like, it feels like people are trying to profit off this movie so much, and everyone's just saying, absolutely not. Like, you can't take this thing from us.
They've got it on lockdown. That's crazy. But honestly, fair play to them. Like, there are very rarely franchises or films or like anything really that's been so well protected and not had people trying to pilfering at like the money making machine, you know.
In 2019 there was a biographical article which Variety put out from a guy who worked at Sony, saying that there are people who want to redo The Princess Bride, and I don't know if you remember this, but the reaction on social media just went, no, it was hugely negative.
Yeah. And
Jamie Lee Curtis, who's married to Christopher Guest, who's, I believe, Humperdinck in this film. she basically said there is only one Princess Bride, and it's William Goldman and Rob Reynolds, and that's, do not touch this film.
Yeah.
I'm so glad for that. I'm so glad that people haven't let anyone else touch it. It's such a great thing, and the fact that it still holds up, still holds its own, is beautiful. And
Definitely.
I obviously see there's a company in Perth that do immersive cinema viewings at Luna in Leaderville, and I think they did one recently. It's like, I think it's every year they bring back The Princess Bride, because so many people rock up and they'll come in costume, and they'll have like interactive like sheets of like when you can interact with the movie, often like Rocky Horror viewings, and just it's just so great.
Which is actually really interesting, because at the start of this year, the reason that we'll get to the song and other things in a moment, but the reason that The Princess Bride is so ingrained in my single that's coming out is because I wrote the song after going to an orchestral viewing of The Princess Bride with my partner, and it's like, this movie means so much, not only to me as a person, but to my relationship. Like, it's so ingrained in who I feel like I am as a person. And yeah, I don't know, I feel like I'd be a really different person if I hadn't seen The Princess Bride growing up.
Wow.
Like, it's the same thing with The Wizard of Oz. It's like the movies that left such an impact on myself. And it's just like, The Princess Bride just like is... Weirdly, I want to say my life, but it's not. It's not. I don't have sword fights going on in my day-to-day. There are no six-fingered men in my life. But yeah, I mean, immersive viewing of The Princess Bride is just like a thing that I love to go to. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so great. So I reckon that brings us to the end of discussion of the film. Do you want to give us your rating for the film, Chris?
So I, first time watch, gave this film 4 stars, which to me means it's a great film. I have a system which I stole from someone else's Letterboxd. FC Barcelona, I'll shout them out this time, at FC Barcelona on Letterboxd. I love their system. It's like from 0.5 star through to 5 stars, and it's like different ratings, but 4 stars to them is a great film, and I do consider it a great film.
Yeah.
I can definitely see the merit for like upping it, to the 4.5, 5 stars, but for me personally, I think a solid 4 is what I would give it.
I'd have to agree. I definitely I use that rating system loosely as well, not as, because obviously there are some things that, I think 5 stars on the rating system is titled as a masterpiece. And I think there are films I've rated 5 stars that necessarily aren't masterpiece, but it's just because I love them so much.
Yeah.
I gave it a 4 as well. Same thoughts as you. What's your rating of it?
I'd probably give it a 4.5, solely because there is one scene in the movie that I really don't like, and I don't know if that's because I'm so attached to the characters, but I really do not like the rodents. The rodent scene.
Okay.
It really, I don't know if it freaks me out or like something, but it makes me really uncomfortable in a way that the rest of the movie doesn't. And so I feel like that one scene, for me personally, knocks it down.
I would say there is that scene, and also the scene when Wesley's getting tortured. Those freaked me out as a kid. I did not like that. It made me so uncomfortable. And also, just before we move on, the fact that Buttercup does nothing when Rosalie's being attacked, and she's like holding the stick and is like, "Oh no, don't get hit by the rodents, you're so sexy, and she's not doing anything. Oh, that irks me.
That's the only thing. Another thing I loved is that it takes the old age damsel in distress story and kind of rejigged it.
Yeah.
But Buttercup brings that down because there are moments where she literally is just
so useless.
Have you guys seen the like Disney Sleeping, like the original animated Sleeping Beauty?
Yeah.
Not for a long time, but yeah.
Aurora has 12 lines in that movie. In total, Aurora has 12 lines, and it feels the same with Buttercup sometimes. It feels like she could have had 12 lines in this movie and made the same impact.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't do anything. Everything
so
just
right.
happens to her. Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of irks me a little bit, but yeah, those are our rankings of the film. Now, that segues us onto your newest single. Do you want to tell us a little bit more than what you've already said?
So, I wrote this single because it's called Affection Deficit Disorder. I wrote it a week after I got diagnosed with ADHD, and a big thing was like the person I wrote it about, who is now my partner, loved this movie growing up, and I was like, that's so crazy. I love this movie too. And so when it came to the process of recording and releasing it, and I was planning out the photo shoots and everything, I was like, oh, maybe I want to recreate this moment, maybe I want to do this. And then we saw The Princess Bride with the orchestra, and I was like, oh, this is what I'm gonna do with it. And so I ended up working with this amazing director called Lula Armenti, who's made this really beautiful, wonderful music video. And Ethan actually plays Wesley in the video.
Surprise!
He's here.
I feel really, quite funny though. It's basically, the video takes place in the first 5 minutes of the film, where with Buttercup and Wesley, of them pining for each other and not saying anything, because the song's always about, why don't you want me back? What are you not listening? And so I have Ethan, Wesley, lip sync the entire song to me as I'm just not picking up what's going on. But because we had a budget, we actually just have a massive time jump, and it like disappears, becomes Dread Pirate Roberts, rescues me, but we don't see any of the kidnapping or anything, and then we roll down the hill, and that pretty much ends the thing. I will say, filming that music video, I'm sure Ethan will talk about, but we had hoped for sun. We did not get sun. Well, actually, okay, that's a lie. We got sun when we filmed the sunrise shot. We did manage to get no rain for that, but we had planned for massive downpours, and then it wasn't raining. So the crew's like, what are we gonna do? We're gonna fill up a watering can and just dump it on Ethan's head the entire time we're filming. At one point they're like, let's just get the hose. And I'm like, what are you doing to this poor man?
For reference of like how like crazy this was, we obviously had the weekend and we saw the weather forecast that it'd be tipping it down. So I believe like you rewrote some of the storyboard to fit for the rain, right? Yeah. And when it came to film, we were like, oh, we'll leave those scenes last because Ethan's gonna have to get drenched. And then we leave it, and then it just stops raining. And we're like, are you kidding me? We planned for the rain. So I basically had to, get watering can, freezing cold water dumped on my head. This was like middle of winter, mind you. This was like a month or so ago. And so it was like cold outside, and we were basically just wearing like, you had a dress that
my dress didn't
properly fit at the back.
Oh no.
And I was just wearing basically like a singlet and this like very lightweight shirt. So we were both so freezing. Like the hoodie was like a savior for Rosalie on set.
I wore my hoodie the entire weekend, and we were filming the scene of where they say goodbye. And I didn't even realize I'm wearing my sweatpants. Like the first time we shot it, we ended up like taking them off and everything. But it was like the first time we shot it, I didn't even realize I was wearing sweatpants in it. But it was just like, of course we cannot make The Princess Bride all over again. This is very much a parodied music video. Like, we cannot get horses, we ride hobby horses. We do not have that momentum of a hill. We had to roll down a hill, but it was gravelly.
It was muddy and dirty, and there were rocks.
And Ethan and I struggled. I ended up like accidentally flashing everyone. It was.
That's not in the video, by the way.
It's not in the video. Don't worry, we've cut that out. Don't go watching it for those reasons.
I gotta say, the dedication on our like halves for this video is insane. Like, we waited for the rain to stop for the rolling. We left the rolling till last. I threw myself down that hill, ruined my nice Doc Martens, ruined my nice pants, but it's okay. Dedication to the craft and getting the cold water, and I had like they had a spray bottle wetting my hair. They had a watering can on my head. They had then rain. I had to like, there was a scene where I hold an umbrella over Rosalie and I'm getting rained on and she's all dry, and it was just it was such an experience to just get pelted down with rain in the freezing cold while Rosalie was like nice and dry.
I gotta say, I feel like I felt so terrible for Ethan because it's my music video and I'm the one who like helped write it, and I'm just torturing this poor man.
And you just got Luther over on the side like, one more.
Do it again.
Do it again.
Do it
one
again.
more.
And so it got to the point where it was my rhythm guitarist's like farm in Wundowie, which is like an hour and a half out of the city, where I was just like, get him a hairdryer, let this man take a shower, leave him alone for like an hour. But it was like, we spent so much of the first day waiting for rain and just realizing it wasn't gonna come. Oh, no. And so it was just, and then we had to improvise, and poor Ethan got drenched.
Yeah, hey, it's okay. As long as it gives me like a good performance in the video, that's all I care about as an actor.
You are dedicated to your craft.
And even like Rosalie said, it was like an hour and a half out, and for the like sunrise/sunset scene, we did it for sunrise. So we were up at like 3 a.m. Like Rosalie had her makeup done, like early hours of the morning, driving out in the complete darkness. Like I remember one of like our like ADs sent a message being like, "Hey, please be careful of kangaroos."
Oh God, of course.
Crazy, just driving in pitch black at like 4 a.m. out into the hills to then stand in the rain again. And it was just crazy. The lengths we went to like parody Princess Bride. It's like, that's how much it meant.
I gotta say though, I don't know if William Goldman would exactly like our interpretation, but I think that's okay because it's a parody of what it is.
Yeah.
And the thing that Ethan hasn't like properly seen yet is that on the 3rd day of shooting, I had all of my friends and people that have like made the project happen come and be in the music video as cinema goers watching it, doing the lines,
Amazing.
like doing Inconceivable. We did an Inigo Montoya line, like, because we couldn't hire enough people to play the cast, so we wanted to honour those lines in a way that we could. And so they're definitely in there. You just need to look for them.
Yeah, I believe also one of the editing choices that's going to happen is, like, while I'm obviously lip syncing to the song, it's going to have subtitled like "As You Wish" and things like that. And when we're rolling down the hill, same thing with the "As You Wish" and stuff
I've
like
got
that.
to say, in the film, those stunt doubles, they ate shit getting thrown down those hills. Jesus.
Absolutely. And then poor Ethan just got thrown down.
Can relate. It was like when we were talking about attempting the role, it was kind of just like, oh, you know, do whatever's comfortable. I was like, I'm going for it. I was like toppling down, and then there's Rosalie just like arms tucked in, like a nice polite like log roll down the hill.
Roll.
And they kept being like, you're not doing it well enough, so Ethan, go again. And I kept being like, I feel so bad. And then at one point I just slipped, and they're like, we'll use that one.
There we go, that's the one.
It looks like random and wild because I just slipped down the hill because it was so wet and muddy. But yeah, so Affection Deficit Disorder, September 20th, accompanied by my Princess Bride parody music video.
You got to watch it. It's going to be great. I'm very, very excited to see it. One thing, a special little tidbit of information for the listeners. There's a continuity thing that I'm sure is going to show up. I had this massive sword on my hip, right? This sword is like the size of probably a 13-year-old, I would say, like a good, like medium-sized teenager. And it was like hanging down my hip off my belt. It's so heavy. And it's because Theo, who's obviously in Rosalie's band, whose farm it was, like, I'm pretty sure it's his dad, just makes swords.
His dad makes prop swords.
I love that.
And so we couldn't find a fencing sword. I was like, you know what? You're just getting a sword.
And so it was proper metal, like unsharpened, but still had like a pretty pointy tip. Big, like, knight sword, top heavy, like crazy. And I was wearing it on my hip. And we have this scene where we're like having a bit of an argument, lip syncing at each other. And then Rosalie shoves me, and that's when I fall down the hill.
Sword disappears.
Yeah, the sword disappears because I was like, there's no way I'm rolling down this hill with like this. It's probably the length of like my hip down to my leg. And
actor impaled on hill.
Yeah, and so it's like Ethan takes the sword off, but then when we see at the bottom of the hill us lying there, and the sword is back.
The sword's back.
So yeah, if you've listened this far and you're you've got a keen eye on the music video, check out when the sword appears and disappears because it's a bit of a vanishing one.
Yeah.
Because there was no way I was going down that hill with the sword.
We were not going to make you. We already tortured you enough with the water.
It was such a fun like video to shoot, and I'm very glad like we were able to cross paths and do it together.
Another funny thing is that my partner, who I wrote the song about, went to high school with Ethan, and so
Another
it's just like this
connection.
very like
It's
full
all-
circle moment.
It all comes back together.
Exactly. with
Yeah,
Princess
and then
Bride.
obviously, like I said earlier on, with me getting drenched in the first time I watched the film, I then got drenched, playing a character from the film later on, and I remember being on set and we just kept saying like, oh, here's another similarity. It was really, really weird.
Amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was so fun.
I should also mention for any Perth 18 plus listeners, I have the single launch for the song where we're also going to show the music video on like a big projector and stuff so everyone can see it in its like fullness. We'll be at the William Street Bird in Northbridge on September 27th. I think tickets are like $15. It's going to be worth it. I'm going to put on one hell of a show, so come down, and I'll probably just rant about the Princess Bride randomly in the middle of the set.
Brilliant.
100%. It's a great song as well, by the way. Like, even though I was lip syncing it and doing several takes of the whole thing, I haven't got sick of it yet. And I'm excited for it to actually come out on Spotify so I can listen to it, because that is a banger, certified banger.
I have pre-saved it. It's going
Hell
straight
yeah.
straight into my playlist.
Hell yeah.
Yes.
I'm dedicated. I'm on it.
Represent.
Perfect.
And that's what's great about this, is it's two birds with one stone. We've got the supporting Perth artists, and I was in the video, and I'm famous.
Ethan was in the video. Ethan is famous. Ethan had to tie my shoe.
Yeah, I did have to tie some shoes. I got down there in the rain, and
No rain, watering can.
Oh yeah, true.
Watering can.
No rain, watering can. I remember I was trying to acclimatize myself to the cold, and I was like, acclimatize me, and they pulled up my head, and I was like, oh my god, it's so cold. You don't even understand. Oh, it was, yeah. I wouldn't trade it for the world, though. Oh, yes, just to be able to play Wesley was just like so much fun.
You got it.
So good.
So just wanting to, starting to wrap up towards the end of the episode. Is there anything you've watched recently you want to talk about that's unrelated to Princess Bride? Any films, any projects?
You got anything you've seen?
Okay, can I talk about a TV series?
Absolutely.
Yeah, go for it.
Have you guys seen Gossip Girl?
No.
Okay,
XOXO.
I think it is the craziest show you could ever watch, ever. And I watched it when I was really young. And recently there's an Australian YouTuber named Mike's Mike who does these 2-hour long recaps of his favourite TV series from the 2000s. He's done Pretty Little Liars, he's done Lost, and he's in the middle of doing Gossip Girl. And it's just like, my favourite show has become so insane by season 4. Like, there are drug deals with buttons in jackets. She marries a prince. They're all insane. Every single person is insane. Which leads me to my point of, apparently Blake Lively was trying to do something about playing Buttercup in a Princess Bride animated thing a long time ago.
I love that.
When Ryan Reynolds was doing the Once Upon a Deadpool, she was trying to get a Princess Bride animated thing.
That could be kind of cool.
That's cool.
I feel like it'd be cool to have it as a standalone thing,
Yeah.
it's its own story possibly, rather than just a recreation of the film.
Absolutely. I remember seeing that, that was 5 years ago, so now I don't know.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, but I just remember being that's really weird. And Blake Lively is apparently not a very good person now. So
Yeah,
maybe let's not.
I've seen things. It's odd.
You hear things.
Well, we watched The Wild Robot again yesterday. I did a triple movie day yesterday. I watched 3. I'll talk about the one I watched in the evening. But we did Wild Robot afternoon.
as well.
late afternoon we did Princess Bride, and then obviously I went home and we both watched another movie separately.
Yeah.
But yeah, we saw The Wild Robot in cinemas, animated movie at DreamWorks. It was beautiful.
Absolutely beautiful film.
Yeah.
Gorgeous. That's probably one of the best new animated films that I've seen in a while.
I'm going to back this. So I've been on a run of movies this week. So I saw Speak No Evil. I saw this new film called The Substance. And then 2 of my favourite films, both in my list. I saw the new Transformers animated film.
Really?
And The Wild Robot, back to back. Transformers 1 is absolutely incredible.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is a shout out to my mate Viv, who I work with. Viv, I know you're listening. Transformers 1 is absolutely incredible. I never really... Oh no, that's a lie. I loved the Transformers franchise growing up. I used to sit and watch the Michael Bay films, 2007. So 8-year-old me, oh my God, they're so cool. But then you go back and watch those films and it's oh, they're not so great. But this one was the first animated Transformers film since the 1980s to be theatrically released. What a visual treat for the eyes both Transformers and The Wild Robot is. You can agree with Wild Robot, but
100%.
I love when animated films don't have to be, kids' movies.
Yes.
Even though they are both, marketed for kids, they do not talk down to you at all.
Yeah.
While The Wild Robot, deals with subjects of death and grief and, what it means to be a mother
And
found family.
being an outsider as well, things like that. It was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And DreamWorks they've been on ups and downs in the last few years because Kung Fu Panda 4, stinky movie. Puss in Boots: The Last Wish,
Great movie.
one of my favorite animated movies. Same level as the Spider-Verse movies for me is that
Wow.
one. So yeah, Wild Robot,
Really, really good.
Highly recommend.
Yeah,
catching.
I watched Prisoners for the first time earlier this week. That was a great movie. Very, very, very stressful.
Very
Best
dark.
performance I've seen Hugh Jackman do. I will say that right now, hands down. Best thing I think I've seen him done. He was so raw and like it was the stress I was feeling. I love movies like that. Like Zodiac is one of my favorite films. It was that very like thriller, psychological, like I love it where it just builds and builds and builds and like there's a mystery unfolding. So great. But last night I watched End of Watch. Do you know about this film?
I don't.
Well, it's like a buddy cop movie. It's got Jake Gyllenhaal and I don't actually know the name of the actor who plays his partner, but yeah, you'll see it on my cheeky letterboxd. It's like filmed in like kind of like a like found footage style where Jake Gyllenhaal's character is like taking like he's studying some sort of course in media as one of those like electives he's taking, and he has to film something for a project. So every clip of like, you know, footage in the film is taken as if he's filming it himself, and it's not like you're watching a movie. It's like you're watching footage, and like there's cameras in the cop car. He has like a handheld, and it's like basically they're cops in like I think like some sort of ghetto area in LA. And like this, I remember one of my friends from uni, his name's Braden. Braden, if you're listening, I love you. He told me to watch this film and I've only just gotten around to it. It is insane. It is insane. Like, it's gory, it's graphic, it's stressful. Like, I'll read what I wrote on my letterbox because I put, the pure stress and dread this film made me experience was crazy. It was raw and realistic and truly like no other film I've seen before. The loss of this is a spoiler. I won't say it. But something happens and it was heartbreaking and heavy. And then the film is very devastating. And some would argue that the director's choices weren't strong, but I would agree that it serves the film very well. So I recommend you watch it. I made the mistake of watching it at night while I was tired, and it just made me feel stressful and I couldn't go to bed. But like it was crazy, and it's like not what you expect. It's funny, but it's also very dramatic and like it's probably the most realistic film I've seen, where it makes it seem like it's actually taken place in real life.
I love that.
And it was very, very good and very, very shocking. So I recommend you watch that.
I think, talking about animated films that are for movies, you've just reminded me of my favourite movie of all time, Trolls 3.
Trolls 3?
Have you guys seen Trolls Band Together?
I haven't.
I don't know.
I will argue it is arguably the best Trolls film. It is not for children. There is no way this movie is for children. There's a scene where she's like, whose driver's license do you have? And it's like Manny McMahon face, and he's like, the real question is, are you a narc? And it's like, it's insane. It was clearly like a movie to promote NSYNC coming back together, but it is so well done. The voice acting is incredible in this movie. The animation is so good in this movie. I genuinely think if Trolls 3 is one of my favourite films of all time. I made everyone watch it for my birthday. It is I will say though, Camila Cabello did not need to be in that movie. She added nothing to the project, but
another DreamWorks film.
It's genuinely incredible.
Interesting.
It is. I don't think it should be in the Trolls universe. It is completely separate as far as I'm concerned, but it is an amazing film.
I think I saw clips of like jokes and gags in the movie and all the adult humor, and I gotta say, I think from some of them that I saw, I was like, how is this in a kids movie?
Yeah.
So,
and the music slaps.
Andrew Reynolds is in it. That's all I need to know.
Oh yeah, because he plays a villain. Hey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His character he plays, Vania, is wonderful.
I mean, I know Ethan doesn't use it, but like the TikToks that came out of those films with some of the villain songs were just like, it was like, oh, I cannot get away from them.
Yeah.
But I never ended up seeing it.
I genuinely think everyone should go watch Trolls 3. It is... You don't need to be on drugs. It'll feel like you're on drugs. There is genuinely a scene where they do take drugs.
Oh.
Like, it's incredible. And I didn't... What won the Oscar for Best Animated last year?
I think was it The Boy and the Heron? I feel like it.
Let me. You
I don't know.
guys talk. I'll find.
Well,
this
I
out.
was going to say, maybe we need to do an episode on the Trolls movies. Guys,
genuinely think, because the first movie is arguably like a movie. It feels like a Despicable Me or something. Like it's for
singing
kids.
Kill My Grandma, okay?
Yeah.
Singing Kill My Grandma.
The second one is about racism. And it's told through genres of music.
That's crazy.
And the third one is about, like, again, found family and coming back together, but just absolutely insane.
It was The Boy and the Heron.
I think Trolls
Miyazaki.
3 could have won.
Yeah, I think for us to do a Trolls episode, I think the people need to pine for it.
Yeah.
So whoever's listening, if you want a Trolls episode,
Let us know.
you've got to earn that.
We'll get Rosalie back for it. Let us know. We'll do a Trolls
We
episode.
can do a Trolls trilogy.
I love it.
Yeah, but the people have got to want it. The people are going to want it.
Thank you so much, guys.
That's crazy. Now, to finish us off, I think we're going to do our little Rotten Tomatoes guessing game.
Hell yeah.
So the way this works is we're going to put forward 3 movie titles, and it's, the other people's jobs to guess what percentage critic rating they've got on Rotten Tomatoes. Obviously, what does it need to be qualified as fresh? Is it above 80?
They keep changing their systems. Rotten Tomatoes.
But obviously there are some films that are certified fresh, and that means it's like really great. I've got a good mix this time. I think they're going to throw you off. So what we'll do is, I think I'll start. I'll tell you the movie, and then you can each guess, and we'll see who's closest.
Perfect.
So my first one is Heathers, that came out in 1989.
Original
Heathers.
Okay,
Rosalie, do you wanna go first?
This is the
Second
issue
guess.
that I don't like the original Heathers movie.
I personally don't like it as much either.
I haven't seen it.
Solely because my memories are of the musical, and so I don't think it... Anyways, I think 64.
All right, is that your final guess?
Yeah.
What about you, Chris?
Do I go lower or higher? I'm going to say 71.
It's probably going to shock you to find out it's a 95.
Wow.
95. That's crazy. And I looked at, because obviously they did the pro shot of the West End. That's at like a 71.
Oh,
Interesting.
so I get a point.
Yeah, 95 for Heathers.
That's crazy.
Pretty crazy. All right, my next one is a personal favourite of mine that got me through high school. Paul Blart Mall Cop 2.
2.
Paul Blart Mall Cop 2. I adore the Paul Blart Mall Cop movies. I'm a Paul Blart Mall Cop stan. I love them. The amount of times I've rewatched those movies is probably unhealthy.
That's me with Trolls.
Yeah. What are our guesses? What do we think? It was released in 2015 for knowledge.
48.
48? What do you reckon?
32. I reckon it's going to be low.
Got 6%. My man Kevin James is done dirty. I think the first one got a 30-something or maybe a 20-something. 6% on the second.
Damn.
And that's the one where he goes to Vegas. He's in the casino. Oh, Paul Blart. Paul Blart, if you're listening.
big fan. Please come on the podcast.
Yeah. All right, and my last one is Marvel's Eternals. That came out in 2021.
Now,
I saw it and didn't like it, and I can't remember it. All I remember is Harry Styles is in it at the end.
Apparently, I remember seeing people that like were Harry Styles fans would like go on Rotten Tomatoes and try and boost the score solely because Harry Styles was in it.
and then on the flip of that, because people were just decided, it was that phase of we just got to kill everything in the MCU.
Yeah.
It got review bombed.
Yeah.
But then that was the audience score. I can't speak for the critic. Critics are not too bad for review bombing, but that's a whole other can of worms, is review bombing.
So what do you think? What do you think it's sat at?
54.
54?
I know it's low. I think it's like 46.
It's a 47. Oh, Chris, you're one off
I knew
again.
Damn it!
Again, you're one off. 7
1
Nightmare
point
for
off.
Christmas. Wow. All right.
It's happened to me twice now.
Damn.
You're going to hit us with yours now.
I've got some here. Okie dokie. So I've got the original Conjuring from 2013.
Oh.
I have nightmares every time I think of this
I'm
movie.
going with...
I'm so sorry.
I'm going with a 78. Final answer. Done.
Yep.
83, even though I hate it.
86. Rosalie is closer.
Ooh. Okay.
I couldn't sleep for 3 days. I did not sleep for 3... I'm terrible with horror films. I did not sleep for 3 days after watching this. I watched
Wow.
it at a sleepover, and then on the third day I fell asleep due to exhaustion.
Wow.
So like it was I hate this movie.
I love the Conjuring films. Me and my friend back in the UK, when the second one came out, we were stupid. We were like, I think it was 2014, 2015. So we're about 14, 15. We watched Conjuring, Conjuring 2, had dinner, and then watched the new Annabelle film.
Oh, wow.
In like a row. And I sat there afterwards and was like...
Yeah.
Yeah, I love horror films.
That's a good one.
Okie dokie. My next one, this is a guilty pleasure for me. As much as it is a Trolls for you, this is my guilty pleasure. 1997's Batman and Robin.
Oh, I know this one's bad. I already know this one's not good.
Really? Because
I know this
I
one's
love
not
that
good.
movie. It's good.
Jim Carrey.
Arnold Schwarzenegger as well?
No, that's
Is that the next one?
I just completely lied. Jim Carrey was in the third one. This is the Arnold Schwarzenegger one.
Yeah. I'm going to go with 13%.
25, because I'm nice.
12%.
Yes. I knew it was bad. I knew people do not like that film.
Guilty pleasure, though. George Clooney with the bat nipples.
Yes. Oh my gosh, the rubber bat nipples. Mm-hmm. Crazy.
And my last one, Fantastic Mr. Fox from 2009.
73.
I'm going to say 97.
93.
I knew it was high. I knew it would be
93%.
high. People love that film.
I love
People
that film.
Well, I actually looked one up on
Yes,
Rotten Tomatoes, which
yes.
is one of my like.
Hit us.
So last year I went and stayed in a cabin in the woods in Nannup, and they had a bunch of DVDs there. And we were looking through them. Me and my mum were looking through them, and we're like, oh, Frozen, oh, Batman, all these things. And then there was this one movie that didn't have like a case on it, so we opened it up, and it was Zombie Strippers, which is like a homemade movie that did like a small digital release, which I don't know why was in our cabin. It is, let me just read this. With too many wars and too few soldiers, a lab develops a virus that brings dead Marines back to life. What do you guys think it's rated?
You should have taken that DVD with you. That could have
really
been worth
should've.
so much money. I'm going to go with 11%.
I'm going to go lower. I'm going to say like 3%.
Shockingly, 38%. People love this
Higher
movie.
than Paul Blart Mall Cop 2.
It is
Zombie
zombie strippers.
Strippers.
It's crazy.
That's insane.
And then they're like in a club. And
2008.
yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh, wow.
It is a strange movie to watch, but yeah, for some reason people love this movie.
You get what you deserve if you watch TV drunk at night. 0.5 star. Someone reviewed it on Letterboxd. I love
Wow. Well, I feel like that's got to go on the list. If we could get our hands on that, I think
find it.
we've got to watch that.
Yeah, it's an interesting watch because it's not good.
That's crazy. Wow. Well, I think that nicely brings us to the end of our episode. Thank you so much
Thank you guys
for
so much
joining
for having
us.
me.
You can find me on Instagram at Ethan_battle or on Letterboxd at _Ethab_. Chris, you want to tell me where they can find you?
You can find me on most social medias at Chris_Thing2, and you can follow me on Letterboxd at Apollo the Cookie.
And where can we find you, Rosalie?
You can find me at Rosalie Chilvers on all the places. I think even on Letterboxd I'm Rosalie Chilvers.
Oh, okay.
People don't have my name. But more importantly, go stream Affection Deficit Disorder on September 20th. Watch the music video that Ethan's in.
Yes, it's
and
going to be
come
great.
to my launch on September 27th.
Yes. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for listening, and we'll see you on the next one.
See you on the next one. See ya.